My sister Janique and I live in Lihue on the island of Kauai. Today we were invited to try out sailing for the very first time. The Nawiliwili Yacht Club is just 5 minutes down the hill from where we live, but people come here from all over the island. There's a lot of wind today, it's gonna be fun.
I can't wait to go out.
I love coming to Nāwiliwili Bay. And it's great to be able to take friends out and introduce them to sailing. This is probably the best place in the world to do that. The bay is large and provides us with all kinds of weather conditions year-round. In the boat harbor itself, the wind is often shielded and the waves aren't too big, but you can venture out and push yourself to more challenging waters.
Nāwiliwili Bay is our backyard and I've seen it in all kinds of conditions. Even when the waves are big, like today, a lot of people come out here to enjoy themselves. Kalapake Beach is good for swimmers and boogie boarders. They're happy with the small waves while experienced surfers and stand-up paddlers head out to catch up bigger ones. It doesn't matter who you are or what you do, this is just a great place to hang out, relax, and spend time with people you care about. For me, it really is home. So I was curious to know more about the history of this place. Uncle Randy is a historian and knows a lot about Nawiliwili. He gave us a tour from the hill overlooking the entire bay. From here you can see things you have never noticed before. The mountains, the lower areas, the layout of the bay. No wonder early Hawaiians settled here from the moment they set foot on this island. It made sense. For us, this is all new, and I bet most people aren't familiar with the details of how this place has changed over time and what was here before. Randy has great knowledge of Hawaiian culture and history. He loves to share what he knows, and I love hearing his stories.
Yeah, where we are is on the hill where the heiau of Kuhi'au was. It was the largest heiau on this island. 4 solid acres of monumental stone architecture. It was huge, it was beautiful.
Nothing of the original heiau remains. After the war in 1825, Kamehameha dismantled it and used the stones for roads and buildings. And now Kaua'i sits on top of it all. Many important events took place here, but one in particular stands out. After the death of her brother, King Kalakaua, Liliuokalani became Queen Regent. As it was customary in those days, a royal tour of her kingdom was organized.
Other islands, and in July of 1891, she comes here to Nawiliwili. She comes in the middle of the night. It's all dark, but when the ship arrives into the bay right here, the people are all around this bay and light fires to guide her ship in. During the whole night, the fires were lit, and just to illuminate the Queen's way. And then at dawn, that morning, she comes ashore.
The Queen's visit to Kauai lasted several days. They took her all around the island and was spectacular. But it was here that she received her biggest welcome. And for generations, people talked about that one particular night.
It's kind of cool that the image of the Queen, when she comes here, the people are so in love with her that they light the fires in order to light her way, you know. So Kauai and Nihao gives the Queen a really cool gathering. She was so proud of us.
Even though the heiau was already gone by the time of the Queen's visit in 1891, things back then were really different than what they are now.
In the old chart, the water came right here to the edge at the base of this cliff right here. And there was a big reef extending out over this whole thing right here. Part of it was dynamited, but they filled in this whole area right here on top of the main reef right there. So this is all filled in area. a lot of it comes in from the side of these flanks that you're moving on. You can see it's almost fresh, yeah, if you look at the side of the walls. And then out on the promontory, this was built first, this great breakwater. They had a bridge right here across the stream right here where the train tracks and the trucks, the train tracks go all along the edge right over here out to this point right there. All the rock that came and built the breakwater is coming from this one corner right there. There's some really cool photographs, you know, with the trains and everything like that that are going back and forth, you know, delivering the rock out to create this. Once this is done, they started to work on the inside right here.
Randy mentioned cool pictures, and that was enough to make me want to learn more. So I headed to the Kauai Historical Society office in Lihue to do a little research of my own. This is a great place where you can find all kinds of artifacts and objects, but it's the oral, written, and pictorial files dedicated to the history of Kauai that stands out. It includes over 3,200 maps and 12,000 pictures of my island. From the early days of Hawaiian settlement on Kauai, to the arrival of Captain James Cook to the bay on January 19, 1778, Nawiliwili was a center of island life, a home to fishing and taro farming. For generations, people lived a traditional lifestyle, doing things the way they were taught by the people who were there before them. When the first Westerners started settling down in the bay, they found the same ideal conditions Hawaiians had enjoyed for almost 1,000 years. So they moved in. They brought their animals, built their houses, and introduced new technologies. People living here were already self-sufficient when it came to food, with large taro patches and a fish pond that had a wall measuring over 900 feet long, one of the largest in the entire state. In the middle of the 19th century, sugar became the new commodity. So in 1849, the Lihue plantation built a boat landing alongside Kalapaki by Nawiliwili Stream. The pier served its purposes, but in time became too small to accommodate the newer and larger inter-island steamers and sailing vessels. So businessmen got together, and in 1921, sugar baron George Norton Wilcox agreed to finance the construction of breakwater. The work was massive and employed hundreds of workers. That was a turning event for the history of our island. As Randy said, train tracks were laid down, bridges were built, and people worked hard to complete the first part of the project. Then, in 1927, the construction of the Shoreline Seawall began. Even though he was 88 years old, Wilcox directed the work. Over the years, the work continued with the dredging of the harbor and construction of the pier and port terminal. Despite the construction of the breakwater that effectively made Nāwiliwili Bay much safer, the area had its share of catastrophes and disasters. Some were from nature itself, like the giant tidal waves that completely destroyed many coastal houses in the area on April 1st, 1946. Other unfortunate events took place here and had everything to do with people, like the shelling of the harbor by enemy Japanese submarine in 1941 and war-related events. Someone once said that if there is no struggle, there is no progress. Nāwiliwili Bay has greatly changed over the last century, and these changes brought both progress and struggle. As larger and larger boats were able to dock, it allowed for both tourism to grow and commerce to expand, which is good. But the changes that were made to the environment to actually allow this progress greatly changed the ecosystem of the area. Rivers were diverted, the flow of water changed, and the shorelines permanently transformed. Thankfully, things started to change as people became more aware of the negative impact of man-made problems like sewage and old septic tank systems. Laws were passed, but much work still remains to be done. Luckily for us, people are coming together under the leadership of various people and organizations like the Surfrider Foundation.
The Blue Water Task Force is our water quality testing program. It is comprised of a group of people who collect water samples to be tested for quality. They meet on the second Saturday morning of every month. And Carl Berg is the guy in charge. Carl is active in coral reef research, watershed management, and issues relating to global climate change. He's been working with Surfrider Kaua'i for many years. He knows what he's doing.
So now that we got the one from Pu'ale Stream, we're going to go over and get one out of the boat harbor, okay?
When you do scientific research, you need to follow procedures. As different rivers and streams converge into the bay, results can be very different from one location to another, even if they are relatively close to each other. So you need to take multiple samples. Once you've collected your samples, you bring them in for analysis. First test is turbidity, or how clear the water is. The second test determines the presence of bacteria that indicate contamination from feces of warm-blooded animals. First, though, you must feed the bacteria so you can study them.
So what do? They grow and grow and grow. And when they grow, they eat the food, and if it's Enterococcus bacteria, not any other kind, but Enterococcus, it turns it from that straw-colored, yellow-colored, into a bright blue. What we're going to do, we're going to go in the back room, we're going to look at these, and I'll give one of you the chart.
So the idea is to count how many samples are contaminated. And the results are very disturbing.
Let's take a look at Nawiliwili Stream. There's a lot of blue, right? Yeah. Lots of blue.
It's disgusting to see the blue color come up, indicating fecal matter in the water, but it's no joke. Over the years, Carl has documented chronic levels of pollution at the stream at Kaua'i Bay and at Neelmullick Beach Park. Thankfully, though, some projects are underway to help change things. And what one of them does is very interesting.
So the big project that we have across the way is to get rid of the mangrove there, because the mangroves are not natural, they're not here in Hawaii, and there's nothing lives in amongst them. So a bunch of us at the Canoe Club are cutting them down and taking them away, chipping them up, but we're replanting native Hawaiian plants in their place. We want to restore and revitalize that area. And this is a big project, so we hope to do the whole river, and we hope to do the fish pond up there, but I'm probably not going to see it in my lifetime. It's something that we're going to get started, and my kids are going to have to work on, and my grandkids who are your age are going to have to start working on. It's a long-term project trying to help bring it back to like it used to be.
So what do you do when you care about something? You get involved. Red mangrove is a species that is native to Florida and Virginia, but alien and highly invasive in Hawaii. Here in Nāwiliwili, the infestation started about 50 years ago. They reproduce quickly, and many of the trees reach up to 40 feet in height. So the first part of the work is to cut them down with a chainsaw. And once they're down, the real work begins. The goal is to remove everything out of the marsh, and it's a job that only works well if you do it as a team.
There's a job for everyone. For people who can't lift heavy branches, the objective is to remove the seeds or propagules before they grow into trees. And you need to make sure that you break them in half so that they don't regrow somewhere else before you throw them out. That's really important. This project started in 2013. It's a huge undertaking, but already people involved in it from the very start are noticing that things are improving. After clearing an area, often you return a few months later to notice that many other mangrove trees have taken roots. So you need to clear the area again. But as more and more areas get cleared, the regrowth rate has gotten smaller. So that shows us that maybe one day we will win this battle. Until then, just make sure you don't get stuck in the mud and keep a good attitude. And enjoy the sight of plants that are both historically and culturally important.
Okay, so Velina Mai, welcome. So anybody know the name of this area? And she's sitting in right now? Neelmullick, Polole. Yeah, you're right, Neelmullick. Neelmullick is in the Moku of Puna. We're still sitting in the Moku of Puna. And we're kind of, if you look at that mountain right there behind those ironwood trees, that's a very famous mountain on Kauai, and that's called Haupu. Okay, Ho'opili Mai, repeat after me, Haupu. Haupu. Everybody should know the name of that mountain. Okay, it's a very important landmark on Kauai, and it divides the two biggest districts on this island. So you have the district of Puna. So if you guys live anywhere between that mountain right there, all the way to Kealia, anybody live between those areas? Between this mountain right here, all the way to Kealia, raise your hand. Okay, so what moku you live in?
Malia Chun is the Community Outreach Manager for the Malama Huli'ia organization. For her, reconnecting people with their culture is as important as clearing out the mangrove. Places to which people give names reflect their relationship to the land. So Malia wants to make sure we know all the names of the area.
Okay, so this area is Neelmullick, and the ahupua'a right next to us is called Ha'iku. The ahupua'a on the other side of these mountains is called Kipu. Kipukai, Kipu. This place, anybody know the name of this river right here? This very important waterway. Say it again. Huleia, yeah. But actually it's called Hulaya. The old name is Hulaya, and that means to push through. And the mo'olelo behind that, the mo'olelo behind this creation of this river, and why this river is so important is because it's the main aina kumuvai, or water source, for 5 different ahupua'a. So Hulaya, very important water source.
Like the Hawaiian language itself, each of these names carry more than one meaning and have many stories associated with them. I'm not sure I understand everything, but the overall story of this place is starting to make more sense. Because of the topography of the land and the many rivers and streams converging into the bay, this has always been a place for people to meet, work, and play together. Of course, the water itself was always at the center of it all. So it's time for Janique and I to go paddling. Once you know where to go and what to do, then you can be in sync with the others, then you can understand how you can contribute. Then, together, you move faster towards your goal. So paddling is very much like life itself.
While Teo, the Neelmullick Canoe Club coach, was watching Ella and Janique paddle further out, I brought my sailing friends to meet Chris Kaua'i. Like Teo, Chris is a true waterman and eager to share what he knows. So before catching a few waves, he told us about Duke Kahanamoku's first visit to this very spot in 1933. At the time, 5,000 people gathered here to see him do his moves. He was a surfing legend and an Olympic champion. We're ready to get going. So while Chris was giving basic instructions on how to paddle, I grabbed my GoPro camera so I could film us doing our moves. This should be interesting. So we're off to a good start. Everyone's working as a team. Time to catch our first wave. This is so much fun. I could do this all day.
Aliana was not the only one that was having fun. After being out for a while, we came back to the bay and cooled off by jumping in the water. But Coach Teo didn't mind. That's what people do here. Everyone's out to enjoy the water and each other's company. Connecting and sharing with others is what it's all about. In fact, on the beach, after we came back, Coach Teo told me something that I'll probably never forget. He said, "You go out as friends, but you come back as ohana." And that is so true. This place brings out the best in you. The Neelmullick Canoe Club Ohana not only get together to paddle, but on weekends, they spend time taking care of the land. Teo was born right here and feels a deep connection with the Aina. It's something you can try to explain, but it's by doing it that you really get it. So we got busy with the work, planting taro, sweet potatoes, and all kinds of plants that were either indigenous of this place or brought over by the early Polynesian settlers of Hawaii. But for someone like me who has always been a city person, being in such close proximity to this amazing nature is really powerful. You sit and watch it for a moment and you get it. It's all around you.
Teo has a vision for this place, and it includes everybody. One day he hopes that people will come here to grow their own food so they can be self-sustainable, just the way it was for so many generations. It all starts with clearly imagining what you want to obtain and working enthusiastically at achieving it. With Aloha, everything's possible. I know his vision will become a reality. I know because many people also share this vision. People like Kauai Council member Mason Chalk. Like Teo, he grew up here and feels a deep connection to the place, the Alakoko fish pond in particular. Mason was one of the persons who started the Malama Luli'ia project, and what he sees for this place in 10-20 years is great.
Well, just think about the potential for this site as a learning center. That's what the vision I have. Right, so not only would it provide the possibility of some food for our community, but also to teach our future generations about how it is we can feed ourselves. I think, and that's a more important lesson. And I would love to see, one day not only this fish pond restored and it being productive and providing a lot of food for us around the island, but also a lot of people in here.
You're never too old or too young to find out how you can make a difference. And that's certainly true with him.
I remember when I was a little boy, my mother used to work at the Kauai Surf that was right here in Kaua'i Bay. And she would take me to work every morning and she would stop here, right at this lookout. And every morning that we stop here, we'd look at this place because it's nice and peaceful here, yeah? And you get to see the water and so forth. So we talk about what this was and the importance of it. And one of the things that came to me was the importance of us restoring it. And so I remember clearly that one of the things I told my mom was that, Mom, we really need to get this back in order and working for us and have this resource become part of our community. So I made a vow at that time that I would actually restore it.
We too hope to see Nāwiliwili Bay restored and thrive. So, true to his promise, Councilman Chuck provided us with a great opportunity.
No one can enjoy it. It's going to be like a total waste and stuff. and it's part of our island. It's part of the family, kind of.
We were invited to share our concerns with the county council. This was a chance to explain what we had learned and what we were hoping for. Turns out, Nāwiliwili Bay is home to many different people with different interests, but everybody we met agrees on one simple thing: the importance of moving forward in a culturally, environmentally, and economically Pona way. So, that's what we said. It was great to see all council members attentive to our message, but I must say that what made me the happiest is the fact that many of us were there that day. We might be young, but we care. And at the end of our presentation, Kumu Sabra and Island School students did something you don't see every day in council meetings. They performed a hula. For me, this has been a real journey. Sometimes you know something and think that you're the only one to know it. Well, I always knew that Nāwiliwili Bay was a special place, but I would have never guessed that this place also meant so much for so many people. You don't own a place like Nawiliwili. The place owns you. Or rather, you become one with it. And when that happens, you take care of it. You take care of it like you take care of yourself. Now, I get it, and that's why I wasn't surprised when hundreds of people showed up on Kalapaki Beach to light up a torch for the future.
The fire symbolizes hope. It allows you to see in the dark and guides towards morning.
I can't help thinking of Queen Liliuokalani. Her motto was Onipa'a, which translates to steadfast. Like her, we continue to move forward steadily, confident in the belief that things will work out.
It's that hope that keeps us going. And the fact that we're accepting, together, the passing on of wisdom and knowledge from our kupuna.